Let me talk a little bit about um, the idea of the defensive jihad. So here are a couple of verses that basically frame this idea. There are different translations, and very often in English, unfortunately, people start quibbling about the translations. This means this, no, this translator means this. But this is essentially how the idea of defensive jihad is framed. So, for example, the first one, and fight until persecution is no more and religion is all for Allah. But if they cease, then lo, Allah is seer of what they do. So there's a
How's
kind
that defensive? Because I'm hearing until religion, fight until religion is all for Allah. That means fight until there's no more non-Muslims.
right. But at the same time, this can be interpreted as saying that they have ceased fighting. Some people have interpreted it this way, that the fighting has ceased, and so you stop fighting. That doesn't mean that there is peace. It means that there is a truce, and that's the thing about this whole thing, that the fighting is always going to be
More of that vague bullshit. It can mean anything. It could mean 1,000 things.
Exactly. That's the ambiguity I was talking about at the beginning. You don't have a well-defined way of seeing a kind of a clear-cut idea that's being laid down. And
now, maybe that's a double-edged sword. At the
that's
same time,
yeah.
It's bad in the sense that people can use it for bad things, but maybe that's also the same way it can be good, because now everyone can say, no, Islam is peaceful. Stop doing this evil shit.
Well, that's the thing about what the new rhetoric is. The problem with it is that it's very precarious and it goes against the tradition. You can say, well, Islam is saying that. Well, don't say what Islam is saying. Let's see what Islam acts. Let's look at the actions and how people actually interpret this. And the inertia of the history doesn't actually coincide with this type of interpretation.
So I think what you're saying is it would be a mistake and cause us harm if people are going around saying, no, Islam doesn't really say those bad things. Islam says this good thing. Let's start doing good.
Yeah. So how do you actually enforce this kind of thing? If you're saying that this is what Islam is saying, how do you actually practically enact this idea?
Only a bunch of people saying it on Twitter, and that's it.
That's exactly. So it's a kind of a propaganda. If you want to actually do it, you have to show that the people who
well, what I'm asking is it bad in the sense that it's giving a defense to the evil guys?
I mean, it hides the truth of what's actually happening. Again, presenting something as a half-truth is really a very dangerous thing, because you are
against it. I'm against it too.
Yeah. Because you are trying to envelop something that's bad with a kind of a thin layer of encasement that doesn't actually represent the truth.
War is deception. How do you pronounce that? Sun Tzu?
Sun Tzu.
And I'm guessing that is very far east, maybe Japanese, something like that.
It is also an exact quote that is often attributed to Muhammad. Al-Harbu Khadi'a.
What does it mean?
It means that you, at least let me give you the Muslim interpretation of this. It means that you're going to be doing whatever you want to do in order to achieve your goal. The goal is going to justify any kind of means that you're going to be doing to achieve that goal. So, for example, I think the historical context for when Muhammad said that, he was marching. One of his armies marched against the Romans, and it took a month. And just from hearing that they are marching against them, the army fled and didn't face the Muslims. And
I think the basic point you're saying is when you're doing war, you need to do deception to win.
Yeah, it's not something specifically.
And they do it all the time. Good on the good side and the bad side, and yeah, there's nothing wrong with it.
Yeah.
What might be wrong is having initiated the war in the first place.
Well, what's even worse is that you're not considering war as a mode that can be switched off, but as a kind of a mode of existence. That's the scary thing, because when you're saying that, if you look at that first verse and you interpret it from that perspective, and fight until persecution is no more. When is it no more? Is it when they stop fighting, or is it when there is no other religion? Because there are other verses that give that impression, and so if the whole thing is a kind of not just mode of existence, a modus operandi for the entire religion, that it's only going to fulfill its goal when everybody on earth is a Muslim, that means that it's never going to end. And that's that's essentially one of the things I was going to get to at one point.
Just to give a defense to Islam in general and Muslims and the whole ummah of the whole 1400 years, for someone to say it's not going to change or you can't change it, and a lot of them their defense is, oh no, it's written in the Quran. Well, I was about to argue about the Jews, and they also have it written in their book, and they rejected a bunch of that. But I heard somebody recently say, well, no, look what Israel's doing. They're still doing it. Anyway.
No, I think it's possible to change. It's not just because of the fact that they believe that this is the speech of the creator of the universe, that this is just something they cannot change. That doesn't mean that the interpretation can never be changed, that there's not going to be a Muslim culture at some point that's going to completely reject this, or that's going to suspend this indefinitely, or whatever. It's just that right now we're not at that stage.
Sarah's saying, I'm not sure I understand this. The Quran is showing that violence is the answer to persecution. Very peaceful. But persecution, isn't that violent or not necessarily?
Well, I mean, it depends. And the reason why this might be interpreted as a defensive statement is that if you're being attacked by someone, you attack back, basically. But at the same time, like Sarah was saying, you can also interpret this in a different way. If there is another type of action that is interpreted as something against Muslims, you might consider that as a persecution and go act on it.
And that's what they say about us. So this organization, Uniting the Cults, the main goal to rid the world of apostasy laws. When I talk to Muslims about this, they, not all of them, but some of them just say, yeah, I'm with you. Some of them say, no, there isn't actually death penalty in Islam for apostasy. What they say is, the way it works is, when ex-Muslims speak out, I'm using my words, but their words is something else, like get Muslims to leave Islam. If I say something that works towards helping a Muslim leave Islam, that's what they're saying is the bad thing that they want to fight against.
Exactly. Yeah. That's a very common argument. Yes.
Harry says that's such a great goal, and he supports the goal 110%.